Hey crew, it's Vid, and I'm back with some more MBTI. Today we're going to be checking out Bunnie XO. We're going to be diving into the mind of Jelly Roll's wife so that we can understand a little bit better about how she thinks, so that we can identify things within ourselves, so that we can improve things within ourselves. Before we begin, let's talk about the system because you've never seen MBTI done quite the way that I do it. It is a little bit different than anything you've ever seen before. I use this chart and these questions to figure out how you receive information and return it, and therefore the things that you might want to improve in your life. We look for indicators in other people. This is not a medical diagnosis. I am not a medical doctor, but we look for types of and patterns of speech and behavior so that we can understand ourselves better. This is again for us. We're looking for these 5 questions. They are things or ideas. Do you focus on the things and the sensory experiences from now into the past, or do you focus on the ideas and the concepts from now into the future? With those, are you looking for all of them, or are you looking for the one specific one? Is it about getting new experiences, or is it about finding the best or the worst experience? Do you do that for yourself or for the tribe? Self does not mean selfish. It simply means that you use it first before you give it away. Tribe means that you give it away before you use it. Are you rigid or flexible? Do you say it has to be my way or the highway, or can we work around this? Those and direct and informative is how you deliver the information back. Do you give the whole explanation and stop, or do you give the whole explanation 2 or 3 times and chase a rabbit hole or 2 along the way? All of these things add together to show us how you receive information, how you process it, and how you give it back so that we can understand ourselves just a little bit better. We are in the Wife of the Party podcast. We're about 10 minutes in. They're good and settled. They seem to be friendly with each other. There's no antagonism. They're just talking. You just heard Bunnie talk about part of her childhood. It was fairly rough, and I totally commiserate. And I highly recommend that you use the link down below to check that out when we're done. So for now, we're going to dive in and we're going to catch up and look for these 5 questions. Things or ideas, new or old, self or tribe, rigid, flexible, direct, or informative. Let's dig in and see what's up.
So you had her from like April to November?
April to November, yeah.
Well, I think you can probably sleep easy knowing you did your very best.
I'm just trying to make sure I get a mansion in heaven. So I'm doing it with my dad now.
I can help you with that better than that can.
I'm doing it with my dad now.
You are?
Yeah, my dad's in Nashville now. My dad has stage 4 cancer.
Oh.
I ended up leaving home at 14. I ran away from home at 14.
Okay, so we're talking about actual experiences as opposed to concepts.
I had a very abusive stepmom, and my dad just didn't protect me at all. And I grew up around a lot of people that I didn't want to be like. You know, at such a young age.
That's some tribe pushback.
I knew that it was wrong and it was toxic, and I just knew that I had a bigger purpose in life. I know that sounds crazy, but at 14, I was just like, I got this. I'm never going back, and I never did.
Okay, so that's about the sensory, right? I'm having this bad experience. I'm going to remove myself from it. Like, it's not necessarily about the best or the worst yet. It's more about these experiences, right? There's been a couple of them.
Well, where did you go?
I lived on the streets for a little bit, and then I always had the most amazing friends who had amazing families who would let me sleep on their couch for like a couple weeks at a time.
Okay, so that's some tribe, right? That's some tribe.
And then I ended up getting my own place by the time I was 17. So, it was like 3 years I was just kind of like on the streets, or like I would have boyfriends and stay at their houses until I would get kicked out. And it was an interesting way to grow up, but I wouldn't.
Okay, so it's not about the ideas behind it. It's about the actual physical experiences, right? We've had a couple of experiences. Stay with my boyfriends, not a particular one, not this one experience, but a couple of them. Stay with my friends, a couple of them. Not this one particular experience, but several of them. So that's about gathering more experiences as opposed to focusing on the one experience.
Change it for the world because it made me the woman I am today. But yeah, so my dad and I had a super rocky relationship. And
now that's an idea.
And he's always...
Right, a super rocky relationship is an idea in support of the thing, right? The relationship is still the thing. But the idea is that this relationship is rocky. Right? That she talked before about her dad didn't protect her. That's leaning into that rocky relationship. And those are in support of the experience, right?
Chose women over me, and I love Bill, but he was just a musician, and he didn't heal any of the trauma that he had as a child. So
That's some extreme flexibility, right? To be able to consider your parents' feelings in that thought is tough. That's a hard thing to do, but that's something that flexible people tend to do better than those who control.
So I understand that. And then September of this year, me and my dad were not on speaking terms. We'll go like a year talking, a year not talking, a year talking, this was
And again, that's about an experience.
one of the we weren't talking stages, and found out that he had stage 4 cancer. As soon as I found out he had hidden it from me for the past year, I just flew directly out to him, went and got him, and was just like, come on, I'm gonna bring you to Nashville and help you heal. And he
Okay, so that's a little bit controlling right there. Now, you use the entirety of your stack at all times. We've seen several examples of flexibility and one example of control. You use your whole stack. Every function is yours, right? But you use them to varying degrees of effectiveness and functionality. And so everybody's going to be a little bit controlling and a little bit movement. What we're trying to do here is establish the greater pattern. It's not about any particular instance. It's about the accumulation of many instances. She has shown flexibility around a couple of situations already. She left, she moved, she got out of the situation. That's flexibility, right? You're not trying to change it, you're trying to get away from it. Flexible. Go and get her dad. That's control, right? You're going to come with me and do this my way. That's control. But that is a tribe responsibility type of thing, right? As opposed to the controlling the situation type of thing. So it's about the repeated patterns, right? If she was bringing us back repeatedly to this one instance was the worst out of the instances, then you're dealing more with the sensory and the old. But this is more about there are a bunch of examples of this really terrible thing, right? And that is using really terrible thing as the idea in support of all of these instances. That's the determining factor. If it's the repeated patterns of communication that determine the type. It's not like somebody asked me if you can lie about your type. You can't, because you're going to lie about the things that you're already focused on. It's going to tell you the same thing.
They gave him 3 months.
Unless it's scripted. Now, you can be scripted and somebody else is writing it, and that's a whole different thing.
To live September, and he's kicking ass.
He's still alive. I follow her.
Right?
I know, so I'm excited.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now I kind of understand why Jelly Roll kept saying you've got to talk to my wife.
Okay, so before we get into the next question, let's just run through the questions real quick. So, things seems to be the pattern, right? It's about the sensory experience, not the ideas behind it. Seems to be new because we're dealing with many of them as opposed to a singular one. Seems to be tribe. Her focus seems to be more external, even though she's very much in control of her situation. Her focus seems to be more on the others, right? When she found out her mom was sick, y'all missed that. That was the first part. Go back and watch it. But she reacted to that. When she found out her dad was sick, she reacted to that. That is tribe feedback. So she seems to be more focused on them than on me. So that's where I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with tribe. She seems to be quite flexible, right? She's not my way or the highway repeatedly. It is more of a let's work around this situation repeatedly. That's flexible as opposed to rigid. And direct and informative. She seems to be fairly well informative, right? That was a rather long answer. There was a couple of rabbit holes. They weren't extensive, but they were there. They were relative to the story, but there was a couple of them. And so that lends me more towards informative. That's what I'm looking at so far. I'm going to look for some more confirmations of these 5 questions in the next few minutes, and then we'll get into the typing and we'll look for confirmations of the stack-specific stuff on the other side. So let's dig in and see what's
We
up.
have a lot of similarities.
Really?
Yes.
Do tell.
I don't want to.
Give me some feedback, please.
I don't want to retell too much for my audience, but for you, I don't have a great relationship with my mom. I still
I want to feel good about what you're thinking. It's the energy I'm getting off of that.
don't have a relationship with my mom. My mom had custody of me, but I lived all summer with my dad, who had 2 male roommates. So I was sort of kind of raised by
Yeah.
3 guys. And
If y'all want me to do Leanne, let me know. I've done Bert, and so it would be okay. Like she seems to be fairly informative herself. So
I think being raised by 3 guys, 'cause I never felt safe at my mom's house.
Right.
So I hid myself a lot. I stayed really quiet. I stayed out of her way. She was really unhealthy. At a very young age, I realized that her behaviors were not right, and I was not going to do that.
Wow.
So I just like sunk inside myself. 7th and 8th grade, she moved me to another school, and I started pretty much living with our neighbors. And when our neighbors moved, our neighbors tried to legally adopt me because of the environment I was in with my mom. But my dad's environment was really awesome, except, he's like a bachelor with 2 other bachelors. And it was just like, bachelor town every time I go there. I think that's one of the reasons I do so well with Bert, is because my safest place was like, bruh.
I was just about to say that. I was about to say, Anna, isn't it crazy that you married Bert? Because he's like the ultimate bachelor, quote unquote bachelor, but acts like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a frat boy.
Yes.
He's like a 9-year-old frat boy.
Oh, yeah.
That's entirely where I felt safe. My whole childhood was with these bruh. I mean, they were constantly having a party. Constantly having parties.
I love that. That's how my dad was too.
Yeah, I don't know. I see some similarities. I actually had an argument with my mom when I was in my early 20s, and she kicked me out, and I was homeless for about 10 days. Not the same as you.
Right.
Not the same age. Not a one-to-one.
So
But
hurtful though.
But it's so hurtful, and I understand what it feels like to be home insecure for a minute. 10 days is nothing compared to what you're talking about. But for 10 days, it was really scary.
Yeah.
any amount of time being homeless is scary. I understand that. I've been homeless twice as an adult, so.
You know, and I was living in New York City and
Oh my
like
goodness.
walking around from lobby to lobby with like doorman lobby, and I was like, my friend lives here, I'm just gonna hang out on the couch, and then I'd just kind of like on the couch. So, and then I just said, this isn't who I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be any of the things that my mom showed me. So I got into therapy, and I had a terrible drinking problem until I was
When did you get into therapy?
younger. When I was 23.
That is amazing that you had even that wisdom at that age. I was partying and doing drugs.
That's some interest in the tribe thought right there, right?
I didn't start getting into therapy until later on in life, but that's amazing that you were so young and you were just like, you know what? I need to go to therapy. This is not what I want to do with my life.
Well, I'd been drinking so much. I started drinking when I was 13, and I drank so hard that I had lost my hair. I had lost a lot of hair, and when my mom, I was in a relationship with my mom at the time, took me to the doctor, he said, this is alcoholism. And I was like, I don't even drink. I don't know what he's talking about. I was a massive liar. I was a terrible liar. Well,
That's interesting.
not terrible. All I did was lie.
Right.
Never told the truth when I was young. My liver was enlarged. There was she's in really bad health, actually. I was only 20. So I think I turned 21, and shortly after that, I woke up.
They're both pretty informative.
And I was in my bed and didn't remember getting in the bed. I'd already had a DUI. I'd already been arrested. I got arrested for vandalism because I was vandalizing people's houses. I had anger issues. Don't I look like it in my nice little crocheted sweater? I am 53, but yeah, I was just a rager. I was
Hell on
drag racing for
wheels.
money. I was like,
Yeah, but you're a product of your environment. You know?
I was mad.
Yeah.
I was really
I get
mad.
it. I was angry as fuck too. Rebel without a cause for no reason.
So that was an idea, right? Your product of your environment is an idea, but it's in support of the experience.
I was like, fuck all you people.
Yeah.
I'm going to tear it up all day.
Too. I was the same way.
Yeah.
Like a bull in a china shop. Don't let me loose.
Totally. And then when I woke up after I've already had the DUI, I was like, I don't know how I got home. Where is my car? I was living in Atlanta at the time. Found my car in a parking lot, keys in the ignition, door open, purse in the parking lot. Like I completely blacked out driving home, and I went, okay, I think I got problem. So I just was like, I'm just going to stop drinking entirely. So I just stopped drinking entirely, and I still wasn't happy. So I was like, something's still wrong, and that's when I got into therapy.
That's amazing. When I decided to get sober off of alcohol and drugs, because I developed an insanely bad pill problem, Xanax and Lortabs. I call them hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres?
I used to be like, I'd love a hors d'oeuvre. And binge drinking
I've been there.
was so bad. Like
Okay, so those are all about the experience, right? And the use of substances generally indicates an SI, right? But probably lower in the stack because you're getting focused on it. It depends on the use of the substance, and you should never do typology based off of this. It's just a little inside baseball. But if you use the substance to give other people enjoyment, it is more of a SE, where if you're using it for your own enjoyment, it's more of an SI.
night, but it was like I couldn't have one drink. I would literally drink and drink and drink until I passed out.
Same.
But I was a fun drunk. I tell everybody.
So that's a little bit of E there.
I'm like, drunk Bunnie was a good time, okay?
That's about the experience.
And then I developed a really bad cocaine habit, and I just immediately
And like, this isn't about her, right? The focus of this is the tribe, right?
stopped one day. Like I looked at Jay after we had got together, and Jay and I got together 2016. It was 2017. I just looked at him one day and I was like, I don't want this in my system anymore. I don't want this in my blood anymore. And I was like, I'm not going to take it anymore. He's like, yeah, okay, honey, because I suffer from severe anxiety. So he was like, there's no way you're never going to be able to take Xanax, right? Completely stopped. Just
Amazing.
cold turkey.
That's awesome.
But isn't it crazy that we have that mind frame to be able to just shut off? Like, okay, we know this isn't good for us anymore. It doesn't serve us a purpose anymore, and we're done. Like that's super strong of you to be able to do that, especially at such a young age.
Well, same to you. It takes a monumental amount of effort. Why do you think you had the wisdom to come? What?
All right, so we're going to go ahead before we get into this next question. We're going to do the typology part of this. We're going to go ahead and transfer this over, and we're going to look and see. So far, we've seen a lot of examples of things, right? It's not the one thing, it's not the best thing and the worst thing. It's all of these experiences add up into all of these things. It seems to be new, right? So we're looking at things and new. So we're looking at the left-hand column. I forget my camera's backwards, but the left-hand column. She seems to be doing this primarily for the tribe. There is self-gratification, there always is, but her focus appears to be more on other people and their experience than about her own. And so it seems to be more of a tribe focus as opposed to a self. So that's going to put us on the bottom. She seems to be rather flexible, right? There's not a whole lot of my way or the highway. There's a whole lot of let's work around this situation. Let's move instead of causing a fuss. That seems to be flexible as opposed to rigid. So we're looking at the bottom left-hand corner, which is going to bring us to an ESFP. Give me 1 second, and I will transfer this over. And we'll talk about the third slot. The last question has to deal with the third slot. The first two slots are how you receive the information, and the second two slots are about how you give that information back. The third slot determines how you do that, right? If it's extroverted, you are giving all of the information, you are informative. That is an extroverted function in the third slot. If you are holding the information back as much as possible and being direct, that is an introverted function in the third slot. She appears to be extroverted. We're dealing with informative, so that's going to be a straight up ESFP. So let's talk about what that means real quick. An ESFP is going to gather all of the experiences without even thinking about it. They're going to be focused on the experiences, but it is primarily focused outside of themselves. However, they feel responsible for their own feelings in the situation, their morals. It's important to note that morals and ethics are not the same thing. Morals are what you have decided is correct. Ethics are what the tribe has decided is correct. If it's not your tribe, you probably don't even care about the ethics at all. But you are basing your morals off of your understanding of the tribe's ethics. So she's going to feel responsible for her feelings in all of these situations. She's going to feel defensive over and see the way forward through other people's thoughts. So she's going to care very much about what other people think, but she's going to be defensive over those when it interferes with her morals or her experience. So she's going to understand what they think, but she's not necessarily going to agree with it or go along with it. She's going to push back against it rather hard if it's not in line with what she feels. The reason she gets so defensive over that is because she's not really choosing the best opportunity, right? The best possible guidance, the best idea going forward. You get a lot of good information at the top of your stack. You get a lot of bad information at the bottom of your stack. And in the middle of the stack, it's heavily filtered. Not a whole lot of information from either side. You're getting good information at the top. It's just heavily filtered, and you're not really narrowing down to the best idea. And so you're going to have a tendency to misunderstand or miscommunicate what the best idea is. The heart is what you really want to do with your life. It is what will make you feel better than anything. And for her, that is going to be the best possible experience, or the worst possible experience, but probably the best. It is going to be understanding what actually happened in the thing. It's going to be being organized, but it's about the best experience. You feed that through your solar plexus, right? Your heart is what you want to do. Your solar plexus is where you get the food for it. And for her, that is going to be the tribe's ethics. The tribe is not everyone. It is who you have decided is important. It can be your family. It doesn't have to be. It can be your workmates. It doesn't have to be. It's probably your best friends. But these are the people that you have decided are important. They are your tribe. And if you're tribe focused, that's where you're setting your ethics, right? You get your morals from somebody else's ethics. It's your understanding of right and wrong is morals. The tribe's understanding is ethics. So wherever your tribe is where you're going to set your ethics. You're going to need to make sure that your tribe is correct and that you've got good ethics coming in. But if you do, and you use that to give the best experience, because that's what you want to do at the top, is give experiences. You just need to make sure it's the best one for your heart. And if you're giving the best experience, you're going to feel great. It doesn't matter what position you're in life. If you're doing this, you're going to feel good. The sacral is the sexual energy. It is the trickster energy. It is the part that you intentionally choose the wrong thing for. And nobody ever says, hey, I want to choose the wrong thing, but people do it all the time. And that is because of this slot. You're getting really bad energy down here. You're not getting good information coming from the bottom. It is mostly negative information, and you're getting a lot of it. It can be overpowering. And so for her, that is going to be her logic. It is going to be how I think and how I make decisions. It is logic and personal choices. It is yes, no's. But you don't have the correct information, so you're not making the correct yes-no choices. You're making it based off of faulty information. That's got to do with the base. The base you just completely miss. It is 90% bad information, and unless you are very intentional about it, you're not going to get it right. For her, that is going to be seeing the possibilities, seeing all the ideas. She thinks she has a fairly good grasp of the good idea, but she's not. She's missing the ideas, and the logic's a little bit faulty. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that needs to be worked on in the stack. If you would like to learn how to work on that in your stack, I've got a video for you. It is the ESFP video. And it talks about how you can take these things and over time integrate them and strengthen them within yourself so that you can fix you in the way that you want to be fixed. I can't fix you. I have no right to even try. What we're going to do now is look for confirmations. We're going to try and see on the backside of knowing what the stack is, if we can get confirmations of the stacks in the slots where they are. Is she actually focused on the experiences? is she responsible for her morals and her feelings? Is she misunderstanding and getting defensive over other people's thoughts? Is she missing or miscommunicating the best idea? Is she missing all the ideas altogether? And are you a little bit deficient in your logic choices? Now, those are going to be the best indicators, and it is very hard to do in these little short clips, right? We're not trying to medically diagnose anyone with anything. We're looking for patterns of information. Let's go ahead and dig in.
What made you come to that? What was it?
It looks like some advertisement.
So until out a breach chart, wife to come to team we're witnessing was not what you wanted. That's a different wisdom too, and you're really young. You're 14.
Absolutely. I think I've always had the fear of ending up like my mom. And, to wake up every day and have to take a Loratab. And even though I was a drug...
That's a moral responsibility based off of some ethics, right? But that's feeling responsible for your morals right there off the top.
I was very controlled with it. So I would take a half a Loratab and a quarter of Xanax and I was functioning. So to me, I wasn't an addict. But as I guess it was when I started getting on my...
That's a little bit intentionally choosing the wrong thing with your logic too.
Spiritual journey, and after Jay and I met, I just wanted to do better. Even though him and I were partying and we were in this crazy space, I don't know if it was him or if it was just the entire situation of finally feeling safe, because I had just got out of an extremely abusive relationship.
Again, what a feeling responsible for your feelings right there, right?
Relationship too, and I was just battling so many demons at that point, and I was just like, I don't like the way I feel. So anytime I wake up and I'm like, I don't like the way I feel, I
don't like the way I feel about this experience is very much where we are with this typology. So, all right, go. I say go. What are you doing?
Automatically change my life. And I've been like that since I was a kid. I woke up one day when I was 14, I don't like my life, left my house and never went back, you know? And I think it's just a pattern.
That's a good confirmation right there already.
I have, but I think just being with Jay, I just wanted to be a better example for his daughter, because we ended up getting full custody of
There's some tribe focus, right?
Bailey.
That's an adjustment of ethics right there.
In January of 2017. And I'm like, how are we going to have full custody of this baby girl because her mom is a drug addict and I'm over here waking up in the morning popping pills?
That is what is everybody thinking about, right? That is a defensive over the thoughts of others right there. That's a really good example of that. So far we see her with the experiences taking control of her feelings in it, right? The responsibility is the crown slot. That is your parent slot. That is where you feel responsibility. And so far, she's feeling fairly responsible for her feelings, right? About the experiences. She seems to be fairly defensive over the tribe's thoughts, right? That's what that was right there. What are people going to think if I'm a drug dealer, if I'm taking dope while we're trying to take custody from someone who is taking dope, right? Paraphrased, but whatever. That's a fairly good fit right there. This is also changing your ethics to better yourself. Is her feeding that solar plexus right there? That's interesting. I never looked for the heart in the solar plexus, because it's a little bit hard sometimes to find, especially if they're not fully matured, right? Like, you have to be getting mature in your stack to really start feeling your purpose. So.
Like, I'm not going to do this with her. And Bailey has been such a pivotal healing, just helped me on this journey, because her and I literally live like parallel lives. Like what she deals with her mom is what I've had to go through. So watching her heartbreak for the past 8 years with the relationship with her biological mom has been healing, and also just so frustrating, because it's like I just want to help her and just be like,
Look, I want to give her the best experience based off of these changed ethics, right? We have similar many experiences, and I want to give her the best experience, right? that is really a good example of a heart being fulfilled right there. That's what she wants to do, is to give this child the best experience based off of these ethics. Right? That's her tribe. So
I want to save her, and I can't. I have to let her go through it herself. But at the same time, I'm so overly protective of her. So definitely Bailey was the monumental point of us both wanting to change our lives.
Right. Kids are worth it, man, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up right there, because that seems like a fairly good confirmation of what I'm already looking for right now. I always try to bear in mind that I have some confirmation bias going into this, but it seems to me that she is about keeping the experiences open, right? It's about giving the experience and keeping all of these experiences open. She does that by feeling responsible for her morals. If the situation's not right, she is bouncing out of it. That's not a bad thing all the time, but sometimes it can be. That fight or flight experience right there. She seems to be fairly defensive over what other people will think about the situation, and that's interesting too. We don't always get a good confirmation of that, but that was a fairly good one right there. We didn't get a whole lot of best ideas at all, and that's probably the best confirmation we can get for these low energy areas, is that they don't show up too much. We did get confirmation of the heart and the solar plexus there, because she fed her solar plexus with the tribe's ethics, and that is what is allowing her to do what she really wants to do, which is to give this best experience. She's got all the experiences. This is the best one. We didn't get a whole lot of the logic. Well, we got a good bit of the logic, but that was prior, right? Making the decision to, well, I'm in control of this addiction, but I'm going to feed this addiction anyway, right? I understand it comes from doctors. I have my own personal beliefs behind those things, but and then missing the ideas seems to be fairly good too. So again, this is for us to identify within ourselves things that we want to change within ourselves. We look for patterns of thought and patterns of acting on that thought, so that we can identify something within Bunnie that we see within ourselves. If you saw something within yourself and you want to know how to do this and how to integrate this self, the ESFP video is a good place to start. It is dedicated just to this type and how to do this. I have a whole system called the Infinite Integration System, where I walk you through prayer and meditation and fasting and how to manifest in your life through this system, and taking this and integrating it into your life so that you can be better equipped to be a better human being. But if that's a little bit too woo-woo for you, and you don't like prayer and you don't like meditation, you can do just the MBTI parts. And it's a more scientific take on the exact same thing, and it has the exact same goal in mind. We're here to make ourselves better, because the more people who are stronger in their stack, the better off the entire world will be. Y'all make sure y'all get back to the Wife of the Party podcast. The link is provided down below so that you can go back and watch the entire conversation, and so you can get all of the context involved in the conversation. Look for the confirmations for yourself. See if I'm right. Let me know down below. See if I'm wrong. Let me know down below. If you would have had to see Leanne be typed, let me know down below. If there's anything I can do for you, if you don't understand this, let me know down below. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Tape. Peace.